With my daughter Courtney, I noticed that there was a lot of hyperactivity. She was a little bit more difficult than what I remember as being normal for a child. One minute she would kind of be okay, and the next minute, for whatever reason, she was just crying or yelling or throwing herself on the floor, and I didn't understand that. We were able to find out that my daughter was fetal alcohol syndrome, FASDS. I had drank during pregnancy, so I was able to learn and find out that that is what is wrong with my daughter, what her disabilities are.
Linda is an example of a mom who very courageously is stepping up to the plate in recognition that she has damaged her own child and children. Linda has a long history of addiction. She herself is a child of a woman who drank, and so her path to sobriety has been particularly difficult. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorders is what happens to the brain and nervous system of a person whose mom drinks during pregnancy. And it ranges from severe mental retardation to people with just a little learning disability, a little bad balance, a little problem with memory. It's a spectrum. You see hyperactivity, you see a hard time focusing, you see impulse control. They're not making the connections between cause and effect.
My daughter Courtney, she seems for the most part normal, just a little, hyperactive. A lot of times we'd be out in the living room playing together, and I'll ask her, could you go to the room and get this? And she'll say, okay, and off she goes, and she'll be in the room for a long time. A few minutes pass and she should have already come back out, and I'll ask her, Courtney, what are you doing? And she says, I don't know. She probably really doesn't know. She has probably forgotten what it is that she's supposed to be doing by the time she goes to the room.
People can have a normal or high IQ and still have a real problem with common sense and with responsibility, with maturity, with truth-telling, with owning up to, with all those things that we consider a good person. So what we have is a society that's constructed in a way that treats as bad people who in fact are doing the best they can with some really serious gaps in their functioning that nobody recognizes.
The doctors that I saw never said anything about not drinking or using drugs while I was pregnant. When they were doing the blood draws and stuff at the hospital, they had known that there was drugs and alcohol in my system, and still nothing was ever said during the course of the last couple of months of my pregnancy.
Physicians aren't telling women about the effects of alcohol, and they're not asking women whether they're drinking or using drugs. Some are, but many aren't. Only 17% of textbooks used in OBGYN classes are recommending abstinence from alcohol during pregnancy.
Knowing what I know now, yeah, I'm angry. Because as an addict and alcoholic, we try to be sneaky and we think nobody knows. And I believe that those doctors knew, and I know that they knew that there was a problem. And instead of addressing it, they just let it go and sent me home. And I don't think that they should have done that. I may have refused treatment, but that option still should have been there. Mothers need to know that there are safe places they can go. I went to House on the Hill as a client, which is a residential recovery program for women and children. It's an intense recovery program to help us deal with issues of drugs and alcohol. I learned how to get through the rough stuff, and not have to drink and not make it worse by drinking or using drugs. You're interacting with other women that share the same issues that you share, so it takes away the shame, because there's so much shame involved with drugs and alcohol, and you realize that you're not the only person that feels those feelings, that there's a lot of other people out there.
Well, we do offer support and a process group, also a parenting group, and mom and child group that helps the moms interact with their children in play and everyday life and bathing and just kind of just the whole care of a child.
The staff at House on the Hill is very, very supportive. That they themselves have been in recovery or have family members that are in recovery. They understand the difficulties that myself as an addict and alcoholic, somebody who has the disabilities of FASD, they understand the difficulties that I may have with my children.
House on the Hill, I believe, kind of gets back those life skills that kind of went out the window when they were in the disease. It also allows them to be the parent that they truly want to be. Their drive and their ambition to make it better for themselves and for their children is very, very obvious when they're ready to leave here. And we do keep in touch with them through aftercare, and we hear all the great stories of them obtaining a car. I've been employed for a year. Little Johnny's in preschool. All those things that seem so simple for a lot of us, but are such a struggle and a triumph for the ones that have been affected by brain damage.
As far as my daughter's future, one of the biggest things that I hope for would be that there are commercials of FASD, that there are health classes in 8th grade, 7th grade, that this stuff is being taught just as well as much as sex ed, that teachers and people within the school systems, this is like second nature to them. My biggest hope for the future with my daughter is that fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is just like the next door neighbor news, that everybody knows about it. I think it'll make a big difference.
Nobody really knows how many women are drinking during pregnancy, but we know that it's a lot. The best way to prevent future generations of fetal alcohol is to take care of women who have it now, to identify them and to give them supports that they need so that their lives don't run off the rails into addiction, frequent unplanned pregnancy, illegal activity, unemployment, homelessness, which is what happens. If we can identify the problem early on and intervene with people, chances are much better that they will go on to live happy, productive lives.
I could be the parent who says, who sits in self-pity and feels guilty and doesn't want to do anything for my daughter because I have to face what I did. Or I can be the parent that I am, which is learning everything I can, making sure that she gets the things that she needs in order to function normally as she gets older. She needs a little bit more help. And I think as the parent that I'm probably the best person to do that right now. You know, we can work together with it. Climb up my apple tree, slide down my rain barrel, into my salad door, and we'll be jolly friends forever, more.